Hi there YouTube, it's Ben here once again. Welcome back to PickACard Tutorials and the first part of the tutorial on my 4 ace routine. Now I said before, first thing I'm going to correct myself, I said before it uses 3 tricks. It actually uses 4, but the last 2 are combined together. I'm going to give credits for the routine now and then I can just get on with the tutorial. The initial is the 4 tricks of the 4 ace production, which is mine and uses some fairly basic moves. There's then Di Vernon's classic twisted aces, which is an absolute staple of card magic and should be learned by everyone. That is it's going to be the focus of the next tutorial. There's then Cy Enfield's Aces for Connoisseurs, which combines with Henry Christ's fabulous 4 aces. I've also got to give credit to Michael Vincent and the classic card magic of Michael Vincent, from whom I got the idea for this routine from Vincent's Aces, which is on that DVD, and the finale with the Cy Enfield and the Henry Christ fabulous 4 aces are both used in his routine, and it's been a big inspiration on my own routine right here. So obviously I'm not going to do the whole thing in one tutorial because there will be quite a lot of stuff to learn. The moves incidentally that you've got and the stuff that you need to remember, you've got a stack, you've got slip cut force, you've got a false cut, you've got the shapeshift, the colour change, the Elmsley count, the pass, push off double, the Cy Enfield slide glide, the Ascanio spread and the double and triple lift. So that's 10 different sort of things that are involved in this routine. Now obviously I'm not going to cover them all in one tutorial, and I'm not even going to go into all of them in any immense level of detail. I'll go into all of them enough that you can get by on the trick, and there's a couple I'm going to go into a lot of detail on. Like for example this one, which this tutorial is going to focus on the 4 ace production, and the move we're going to look at in a lot of detail is the slip cut force. The next one we'll look at Di Vernon's twisted aces, where we'll look a lot at the Elmsley count. And then we'll do the Aces Connoisseur as well. We'll look at the Cy Enfield slide glide, probably the Ascanio spread as well. Everything else I'll go into a little bit, but I won't do too much detail on. I'll do enough to sort of get by. But I will do some extensive tutorials on some of the basic moves, and also these are also the moves that will probably come in useful in other aspects of your magic, not just in this routine. But I'm going to go through the routine. You've got the moves, you've got the credits, and I'm going to start with the 4 ace production in just a moment. But before we do that, I need to show you the stack. It's a fairly straightforward stack that you've got. You need a number card on the top. It can be any number. Don't use the 7s. I wouldn't if I were. That gets a little bit suspicious. I tend to use a 6 because it's about in the middle. And then you need 5 indifferent cards underneath. If you're going to use an 8. Incidentally, you'll need 7 indifferent cards. If you're going to use a 2, you'll need 1 indifferent card. If you're going to use a 9, you're going to need 8 indifferent cards and so on. So 1 less indifferent card than the number there. So I'm using a 6 and I've got 5 indifferent cards. And they go right at the top. You've then got your 4 aces. I tend to go black, red, red, black, concluding with the ace of spades. And your 2 black 7s, they don't come into effect until much, much later on in the routine during the Aces Connoisseurs, but they do need to be there as part of the stack. In order to begin. So you start with your stack right there, and obviously if you're doing this live, you want to do a few false shuffles. So obviously you've got the false shuffle you can do right there, where you're just maintaining sort of the top half of the deck, which from that angle looks really quite ugly. So you've got a great big chunk there, but if you're doing it quick enough and sort of casually enough, there's no reason anybody should notice. Obviously the nice one you can do, if you go and see my other tutorial here, you can see Sybil in the Rain, which isn't a controlled shuffle, but I have got on there a tutorial for the classic Sybil, which is a controlled shuffle. So doing that, you should have, yes, the order should maintain the same. So any number of false cuts, false shuffles that you want to do is all good. So what have we got next? Yeah, so first thing you're going to do is the slip cut force. Now the slip cut force is my go-to force. Now I'm 24 and I've been doing this force since I was 16, so 8 years. And it's, oh, there's a cat here. Excuse me. Right, down you go. Down you go. Right. Back to the video. I've been doing this force for 8 years and I'm still not 100% happy with it all the time. There's sometimes I just think that was rubbish, that wasn't good. You know, you get away with it a lot of the time, but it's a move that does take some refining and some finesse to get absolutely lovely and really, really subtle. The move is incidentally this. If I get you to say stop anywhere you like down the deck, say right there by the 8 of hearts, you'll see you've stopped at the 6 of clubs. Now the way this works is that obviously you are retaining the top card during the cut. So say you go down to the 2 of diamonds. If you watch very, very closely, I'll do this on both cameras as best I can. As you're bringing out the top packet there, you can actually see the top card, which is in, actually I've got 2 top cards out, something you need to be careful to do, we'll talk about that in a minute. See, the top card is being retained by those fingers there and the pressure on the packet that's coming up. And as that clears, that should just snap back down and you peel it off. Okay, so the grip is that, all 4 fingers down there and the thumb just doing the dribbling, and then your other hand comes in, lifts up the packet at the break, in this case where the joker is, but not quite the top card, or if you just leave the grip tight enough against there, it will just retain that top card, the 6 of clubs. That comes clear and just lands, and you can peel that out. So that's the slip cut force, and that is my go-to force that I use in quite a lot of routines. If I'm forcing a card, odds are I'll do that one. You don't have to use that one, so you can classic force it, which will then maintain the order as well, once you put the stack back on the top. You can do riffle forces, which are moves that I know of but I don't do, just because I have the one I'm most comfortable with, so I'm not going to go into give you any ideas on what else to do. You can look those up in your own time if you like. But the one I do is the slip cut force, and there's a little quirk that I've sort of added to it. I sort of normally get them to stop, so right there by the 4 of hearts, and I come out and I point to the 4 of hearts, and that act of misdirection actually sort of slightly distracts from this move. So you go to point there, I'll just say, I can sometimes go, sure enough, stop by the 8 of clubs, do you want to go once more? No? Sure, by the 8 of clubs, right there. And it just slightly, it's just something that I've put into the way I do the slip cut force, and it points to somewhere else. You sure you want to go right next to this one, making sure you say right next to this one, not this one. Especially if you're doing forcing a card that's already been selected, but that's routines for another day. Okay, so you've got your slip cut force to force the top card, and that's pretty much the tutorial on that right there. That's a really bad example of one, but again, it's sort of showing you how to do it. You force your top card, your 6 right there by the 7, and you flip it over and show it's a 6. And you explain the story that this is actually an indicator card, and it's going to tell you how many away the first ace is. 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you're done. I tend to scoop those up and just stick them on the bottom. Now, the next one, the next production of the ace, I watch back videos of myself doing this, and I just think, how is anyone ever fooled by that? Because it becomes so obvious once you know what's going on. It's that, and literally, I mean, because you know the stack now, so you'll be able to figure out exactly what that is. It's literally, I'm just taking the top card off. But I say I've got to cut the deck twice, and you get the next ace. Now, watching that back on a video, I just think there's no way people get fooled with it, but they genuinely do. They don't see what's happening. You need a lot of confidence to pull it off, and you need to do it fairly quickly as well, without it looking messy. And it just looks like you're pulling it out of the middle. I think effectively what it is, it's one of those. It's a cross-cut force where you do that. And so, okay, so you're happy to cut there off. Now what I'm going to do, in a moment, we're going to check this card. Is it the ace of diamonds? And that basically you're forcing the top card, but you do it in such a way that it doesn't look like it. So I mean, in terms of the actual mechanics of that move, it's literally just one-handed bounce, drop some, bounce, and then flip over the top one. And you do that all as one fairly fluid action, not like that. That looks fairly good, just like that. Okay, and that's all. Literally all I do. Is just cut the deck twice and flip it over. So that's ace number 2. Make sure you put the stack back up in the same order, or you're going to end up losing the ace in your deck. The third one is just another simple slip cut force. But instead of doing a riffle down to it, because I mean, if you do, okay, the next one I have to find somewhere in the middle. If you do that, they're going to think, well, he's just looking for it. And even if you're not doing that's what lay people are going to think. So I tend to just do it by just going, and I always leave it, right there next to the joker. That's where the ace of hearts is. So you literally just open the deck up and just name the card that you see. So you say, as you look down, it's right there next to the 4 of hearts. That's what happens if you drop the slip cut force. So So right there next to the 3 of clubs, and again you've got that finger pointing action that over sort of looks the movement of doing the slip cut force, and actually it's got some relevance there. Say it's next to the 3 of clubs and you deliver the ace. And so for the final one, the ace of spades, again it's already on the top. If you go to this link right here, you can see my tutorial on the shapeshifter colour change, which is the one that I do. It's a great one to do because I literally sort of tell the story about how I get it wrong when I do it first time. In this case it's a 10 of clubs. I'm nowhere near the ace of spades. All you need to do is give a little flick and you'll see it turn into the ace of spades. I don't need to say any more on the shapeshifter. I've got a load of information on the shapeshifter at that link, so if you haven't seen it already, go and check it out if you want to know how to do that. Now, normally at this point, I would go straight into Di Vernon's Twisted Aces, but I didn't realise this until literally today when I was filming the performance for this routine, and I came to do the Aces Connoisseurs bit, which involves the 7s, and I did the first move in that, and it came up with it was the Queen of Hearts when I did it earlier, the 10 of clubs, and then I realised that's because when I did the shapeshifter, I ended up sullying the stack. So if you've got obviously the ace of spades on the top and you pull out the 10 of clubs and say now what I have to do, I have to cheat to get it right. I give it a little flick and it turns into the ace of spades. In putting the ace of spades down, I've actually now got a missed stack at the top. I want my 2 7s, that's all I want left at the top, but I've put a 10 there. Now, there are a number of ways you can get out of it. If you want, you can find an alternative to doing the shapeshifter. I experimented with doing an Erdnase colour change, but I couldn't make that work because then you've got a card underneath the wrong way around. Various other bits and pieces, but I mean the shapeshifter is the one that seems to work. Basically, you've got a card on the top, so if you want to palm it off, Charlier, catch a break, put it back and pass back. That's one way of doing it. It's a fairly long-winded way of doing it, but you get back to your 2 7s that way. Just to go, if you want to do that way again, literally palm off, Charlier, catch a break, replace and pass. I thought that was quite a long-winded way of doing it. So if, say, you've got the 9 of spades is now the top card, the way I do it, because I do the pass a lot, I pass a single card to the bottom. Now I'm going to do a full tutorial on the pass in the future. I'm not going to do it just now because the pass is a complicated move. It does take a lot of practice, and it's something that needs to be built up to, or you certainly shouldn't start with it. But to give you a very basic overview of the pass, if you catch the break, at the right angle, catch the break in this case under the top card, and that pivots out, is that action. So that's an action that you're going to need to practice quite a lot. You can hopefully see that in the main camera there. It's the 4th finger goes on top, the pinky underneath, and 3 and 2 out there, and it's that. You're sort of lifting weights with your 4th and 5th finger, and that action pivots out that card, and in so doing you can then hang on to the rest of the deck, lift it up, pivot back and replace. Is the pass in a nutshell. I will go into more detail on that in the future. But what that does, it then leaves you clean with the stack at the top, 2 7s, and you can go into the Twisted Aces routine, which will be the subject of my next tutorial. So just again, to do that pass and then get rid of it, you do the pass and you put the deck down, and then you go into the Di Vernon's Twisted Aces, which I'll go into later on. So that is the basics of that production there. Slip cut force has there been covered. Again, go to that other link to see the shapeshifter tutorial in more detail. And apart from that, just practice. Get the stack right. Practice that slip cut force. Make it look really natural. So it doesn't look like you're doing. So one thing to avoid absolutely with that is doing things like that, because that looks really unnatural, and there's no reason that you would ever do that when you're performing with cards. So practice that, practice your slip cut force, and that's your production. I will see you on the next tutorial.